Hello. Today, I am going to assemble my first ever table tennis racket. Well, not exactly my first. I have assembled several rackets before, but this time, I want to show you some common problems you might face while assembling your first racket. There are many videos on YouTube that show better or more professional methods. This video is simply my perspective. I will not use any fancy equipment, just the basics. A water-based glue, a simple makeshift roller, and a normal paper cutter to cut the rubber. I am assuming that if you're assembling your racket for the first time, you may not have professional tools. Things like special rubber cutting scissors or a medical knife. So this video will be helpful for beginners. Alright, let's get started. Before we start, a quick note. Throughout the video, the camera angle is upside down and may cause eye fatigue. I am using Yinhe rubbers. The black one is Big Dipper 38 degrees, and the red one is Moon Pro medium version. The blade is 729 blue ALC. So let's quickly unbox them. Okay, once we have unboxed our rubbers, we can start applying the glue. Before applying the glue, make sure to shake the bottle well. Along with the glue, we need a sponge and a clip. I'm using the sponge and clip that came with the glue, but you can use any sponge. The purpose is simply to spread the glue evenly. You can also use a thick paintbrush to spread the glue. Now, if you are using a Chinese rubber, like I am, there will be a protection sheet on both sides of the rubber. Make sure to peel it off. Some Chinese rubbers come with factory glue already applied. Now, it is up to you whether you want to stick it directly to the blade, or remove the factory glue and apply fresh glue again. What I prefer is to keep the factory glue as it is. Then I apply 2 more layers of glue. There is no right or wrong way. It is all about personal preference. If you are concerned about the total weight of the racket, you might remove the factory glue and apply your own. Or you can apply just 1 layer. Now, coming to the number of glue layers. Mostly, I apply 2 layers on Chinese rubbers, and 1 layer if it is a European or Japanese rubber. But again, there is no fixed rule. The reason I apply 2 layers on Chinese rubber is because it absorbs glue very well. Sometimes it also makes the rubber slightly softer. European and Japanese rubbers do not soften much, so applying extra glue does not make a big difference. Now, you can see that I am having some difficulty applying the glue. This is because 1 layer of glue is already factory applied. Because of that, my sponge keeps sticking to the rubber. To avoid this, we can simply apply a slightly thicker amount of glue. Now, just spread the glue as evenly as possible. Don't worry too much if it is not perfect. Small imperfections won't affect the performance of the rubber. Another problem I am facing is that the rubber keeps moving while I apply the glue. Because of this, I cannot spread the glue evenly. When I apply the second layer, I will show you a simple trick. This trick will help you spread the glue much more evenly. How do we know that the glue is completely dry? After some time, the white color of the glue will disappear. It will become transparent. The drying time depends on the climate. It can take anywhere from 15 minutes to 1 hour for the glue to dry completely. You can check it by gently touching it with your finger. If it still feels wet or sticky, let it dry for some more time. Only move to the next step when it feels dry and non-sticky. Now see here. I'm holding the rubber with 1 hand, and I am applying the glue with the other hand. This gives me better control. It also helps me spread the glue much more evenly, as you can see. Now let's discuss the order of gluing. If you are assembling or changing both rubbers, here is the method I usually follow. First, I apply 1 layer of glue to the first rubber. Then I let it dry. Next, I apply 1 layer of glue to the second rubber. By this time, the first layer on the first rubber is already dry, so I can apply the second layer on that rubber. After that, I apply 1 layer of glue to the blade. I apply glue on the blade last, because the glue dries faster on the blade than on the rubber. This way, both the blade and the rubbers dry almost at the same time, and this helps me save some time. But I would not recommend this method for beginners. For beginners, keep it simple. Apply 1 layer of glue. Wait for it to dry. Then apply the second layer. By the time the second layer dries, you can apply glue to the blade. Then wait for both the rubber and the blade to dry completely. After that, you can stick them together. Now, sticking the rubber onto the blade is a slightly tricky part. This is especially true with hard Chinese rubbers. First, we need a roller to press the rubber onto the blade. I'm using the cardboard base of a used kitchen tissue roll. You can also use a PVC pipe or any cylindrical object. I prefer the soft roller because it bends under pressure. Even if I press hard, the roller bends, not the blade. This keeps the blade safe from bending or cracking. If you like to apply more pressure, make sure the blade is resting on its face, not on its handle. If the blade rests on the handle and you apply high pressure, there is a high chance that the blade can bend. Another important step is aligning the rubber on the blade. Try to place the logo at the center of the blade, or in line with the handle. If you cannot align it perfectly, that's fine. Just make sure the ITTF number on the rubber is clearly visible. This is important because in tournaments, if the ITTF approval number is not visible, you may not be allowed to play. Once the logo is aligned, slowly roll the rubber onto the face of the blade. Now, I personally do not like to apply too much pressure while sticking. I believe the rubber is already stretched from the factory. If we stretch it even more during pasting, over time it shrinks more than usual. This can leave a small gap on the blade's edge. This is just my preference. You can follow your own method. Now to cut the rubber, you can use a paper cutter or scissors. I prefer using a paper cutter, but I have seen many professional players using scissors and cutting the rubber effortlessly. For me, using a cutter is simply easier. You can also use a medical knife. I personally have never tried it, but I have seen many older players cut rubbers with a medical knife. The cuts look very clean. Before you start, check whether your cutter is sharp enough. Harder Chinese rubbers will not cut in a single try. They usually need 2 or 3 passes. European rubbers are slightly easier to cut, but even they may not cut in one go. You can test the sharpness by cutting a small extra piece of rubber. It does not need to cut perfectly on the first pass. It is completely fine if it takes 2 or 3 tries to cut one spot. You also don't need to cut the whole rubber in one motion. You can take short breaks in between. Relax your hand and then continue. On your first attempt, the cut may not be perfect. There may be some rough edges, especially in places where you stop and start it again. That is totally fine. It will not affect the performance at all. And if you apply edge tape, those rough spots will be completely hidden. Let me quickly repeat the process for the other rubber. At the end, I will show the final result. You can trim off the rough edges using scissors, especially the one that protrudes significantly beyond the blade faces. The wings of the rubber can also be trimmed off using scissors. So this is the final result. You can see that it's not perfect, of course, there is room for improvement, but it's not bad at all. Yeah, so that's it for today. Good luck for your first custom table tennis racket.